Welcome to the Big Week in Gaming podcast. And what do you know? It's been a big week in gaming. I'm Swinny for episode 103 for this Sunday, the 6th of November, 2022. This week's show, launch date, prices and games revealed for the PlayStation VR 2. A new Deus Ex game is apparently in the works. Square Enix's Symbiogenesis is revealed. And Hideo Kojima finally comments on the Blue Box Studios conspiracy theory. If you'd like to support the show, we'd love to get you to subscribe on YouTube or your favorite podcast app. If you're a mega fan, come join us on the Discord. All the links are in the description below or at bigwigpod.com. Joining us today, we have our executive producer, Intergot.
Hello.
And no Mike, unfortunately.
Huh? What? No.
Yes, and
Surely
I tell you what, it's left a Mike-sized hole in my heart to not have him. I was thinking today that it's like. It's almost like a unit of measurement, like, when, and I was thinking, like, I was counting it, 77 episodes he's been on, so,
Okay.
man, if he's going at this rate, it's going to be like our 3rd-year anniversary before he gets to episode 100.
It literally could be another year, right? At the rate that what he's doing right now, so.
He was apologetic that he couldn't make it. He's got some things to sort out, some life admin.
I have to admit, I didn't know that he was going to not be here until he was like, hey, I'm not going to come. I'm like, huh? I'm like, okay. Like, I mean, it's not that I've got anything on. I just came back from a Bucks party, big night, everything like that.
I can tell your face is looking a little red. And yeah, it was quite a sunny day today in down where I am. I don't know if it was where you
Oh,
are.
yeah, it was super sunny. It was good. It was a good day. Entertaining.
Yes. So I've got a bit of hype. So I was looking at the calendar and looking at when the game of the year for Game Awards, when the nominees are announced, and I looked at basically next week will be the time when we actually do our predictions for what we think is going to be nominated. So we did that last time.
Oh, okay.
So we take a stab at what the 6 games, assuming there's going to be 6 again.
Yeah.
What the 6 will be that will be nominated for Game of the Year at the Game Awards. And then, of course, once we actually know all the nominees, we will actually do our predictions ahead of the show, which I think is like somewhere around the 8th or the 10th of December, around that kind of. So a little while away, but...
I think it's the second Friday for us.
Honestly, it's a tougher year than it was last year. We've talked about it a lot on the show because there's some that are a lock, I think, and some that are... There's a lot more. It feels like there's a lot more spots for indie gems this year than there have been in recent years.
Yeah, I think like top 2, it's like almost non-negotiable now. Like I would bet my house on it type of territory. Literally, I would. And then I'm not even confident in what I think is probably going to be ranked the 3rd. So yeah, it'd be interesting next week when we start to go through it. It's not super clear. It's not super clear.
No, and there's so many that could just like surprise you, like a game like Neon White get in, and you're like, I can see why they got in, but it's like,
correct.
So we'll see when we get to we'll cover it next week, and we'll make sure Mike gets the heads up that he needs to
be here.
not come up with it on the fly. I've also got a
okay, because he's not going to listen to this. The chance that he's not going to come up with it on the fly. Come on, dude. Let's be real. We've known him for like 30 years.
You say that, and he's listened in on the intro to the show when he's not been here before.
You're ruining the magic. I'm doing this to like stir him to do it. It's reverse psychology, man. Now we have to reverse the reverse psychology. He will do it.
He's definitely going to not do it on the fly.
He's definitely going to do it. He's definitely going to prep.
I got a quick update. It's from a while back, but so I've bemoaned the fact that the DualSense controller on the PlayStation 5, or at least my one, that I had issues with it. Just had such a poor battery life, and it just was going dead, and I was having to charge it all the time. And I said a while back, I'm like, I think it's also possibly because it's not going to sleep like I'm expecting to. Like, I'll put the controller down, I'll go away and do something for 40 minutes or something, I'll come back and it's probably not automatically turning off. So I just wanted to clarify. Okay. I went in the settings and saw that there's the option, so you can set it to turn off after half an hour or whatever of inactivity. So I just want to update the fact that I'm glad I found that because it's much better now. So
it's kind of the Xbox hater, fanboy,
Well, I thought
spreading
that's what
lies about.
I said back then. I don't know how long ago it was, but I thought that's what it might be.
Yeah.
But it is a shame it's not kind of on something like that by default. But whatever, I'll figure it out.
I still just can't. I just can't get over the controller. Like, there's something about it, and the fact that you can't use the DualSense will forever just shit me and like annoy the hell out of me.
What do you mean the DualSense?
No, sorry, DualShock 4.
Yeah.
Like, there is absolutely no reason why, like, no fair reason why you can't use the DualShock 4. Like, they're like, oh, you know, we want to be able to use all the special features and stuff like that. Bullshit. That's not a reason to block it completely.
That's a toggle in the options menu with a small bit of work involved, you know.
It's like the fact that they've gotten away with, like, I like PlayStation, but the fact that they get away with that shit and people don't call them out for their bullshit, like, actually kind of pisses me off. It's like, come on, like, this is really bad. It's bad form. So
also a bit of a PSA. It's, you know, not news to probably most people, but for me it was I don't know if you've ever known or had, you know, a lot of people have a Microsoft account or whether or not it's for like Outlook or whatever. And generally there's like a Microsoft Rewards point system involved with that is, I guess, linked into Xbox and all other stuff as well. And I had so many bloody reward points that I didn't know what it was. And I'm like, oh my God, I've got all these reward points. So, and actually what I realized is when you actually go to see what you can redeem these points for in the Microsoft Rewards, there's actually a whole bunch of options there, but also there's a bunch that you can actually just put some of these points to charity donations. So just a PSA that if you're sitting on lots of points and you don't want to use them for anything, that you can just like literally click and just say, okay, I want to, and there's a whole bunch of, you know, different charities and stuff there. So I just thought that was, I put a bunch of points to them. Yeah. Like it's not as, it's, you know, obviously just go and donate to charity if you want to donate to charity anyway. But the fact that these points are sitting there and I'm like, well, I could redeem a bunch for like a JB Hi-Fi gift card, or I could put a bunch just to a charity. So, you know, it's like there's... So
I feel like this is just a roundabout way of you trying to say what a great bloke you are.
No, I just noticed it. I literally noticed it this week because I didn't even know what those points were for. I obviously... If I signed up to something, if it wasn't by default, then I've forgotten about it. So I was like, I just thought it'd be a nice PCA just to let people know to check, you know, if they've got leftover Microsoft reward points, they can do that.
No,
or they can use it towards the actual video game related stuff.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Do anything you want with it. I initially had a question, but I feel like it's wasted now that Mike's not here because it's sort of like, you know, won't be able to repeat it to Mike. Do you know what I mean?
I've had something I've been planning to do during like my banter video game segment that on the week that Mike's not here, we're doing something where it's like either a busy week or we're doing something special.
Yeah.
Or Mike's not here, so I'm like, bloody Mike. It's like I've wanted to do this thing for like 8 weeks and he's bloody screwing me over. Screwing me over. But he's not even here. He doesn't even know what he's doing, but he's screwing me over.
Yeah. I was like, oh, that's not a bad. I heard, like, to be honest, or not, you know, open, whatever. I heard it on another podcast. I'm like, oh, that's such a good question. I like it. But yeah, now that Mike's not here, it's like...
Hold on for it, because Mike's answers are always the ones that are much more entertaining for the audience. So,
yes, that's really fair. That's really fair. So we should wait for the great man to return.
Don't pilfer and reuse good content when there's not the output that you want.
Well, if we kind of like... we can't really raise it because, you know, that would be super lame if we bring it up 2 weeks in a row. You can't do that, so... Yeah, we'll have to wait for him.
We could predict what he's going to say.
Okay, do you want to do that?
Let's give it a shot.
Yeah, I like these. This is good. This is thinking on the run. So
I have no idea how I can predict Mike. He's so...
No, he's very unpredictable.
Let's give it a shot.
So the question that I heard is, if you could wipe out from your memory one game that you've played, so then you could play it again fresh, what game would it be? I'm like, that's a good question. I like it.
Mike's probably going to say something stupid like Sextress, but I think his real answer would probably be the original Fallout. I think that would be his answer.
Okay. I had Mass Effect.
Yeah, I can see that. I had
Mass Effect. You had Fallout. What's your answer to the question? Might as well give our answers and then we can talk. See, this you've given us 2 segments. You've given us a segment because we guess, and then the audience has to wait till next week. It's the hook. I love it. So that's our guesses. So wait, your Fallout, I'm Mass Effect for Mike.
Yeah.
What are you for your actual answer?
Oh, look, probably the original Dark Souls.
Dude, Dark Souls is climbing on my list of like greatest games of all time, massively, right?
Because the thing is that I'm thinking my current day like self with gaming and everything.
Yeah.
Because if I say something like an older game, you are blinded by nostalgia in a lot of ways, and coming to those games for the first time, and I'll talk a bit about that actually soon, but coming to an older game for the first time, like 20 years later, there's a very different experience. So, for instance, I don't think I would love Ocarina of Time as much as I do if I came to it now for the first time.
Yes, good answer. I think you're totally right. Like, I had those kind of thoughts in my head as well, like, how would you take this versus that and all that kind of stuff. My answer might surprise you, actually, because I don't think it's the best game of the year it came out. So it's kind of an interesting, but it's actually clear reasons why I think I'd want to erase it. Because the thing is, in this game, there's certain moments where I'm like, it literally got me in the feels. I was like, damn, this game has really like hooked me. It's Mario Odyssey.
Oh, wow. Mario Odyssey got you in the feels. That's interesting.
Yeah, like, I love, like how they weave in so seamlessly the 8-bit aesthetic. It reminds me of when I was a kid. And then Donkey Kong, because I had no spoilers, really. Like, the whole, I don't want to spoil it for people, skip for like 30 seconds. Like, the Donkey Kong segment, and then how the game ends with Mario 64. I was like, damn, man, this has got me, like, so hardcore.
Oh,
but
yeah,
I don't think it's the best game of that year. But just the experience of those moments, I was like, it was maximum nostalgia for me. And, like, I love the Mario series. It's probably my favorite series, the Mario series. Like, over Zelda. So, yeah, Mario Odyssey. I still think Breath of the Wild's a better game, though.
All right. Well, we will see what Mike says next week. And,
stay tuned, listeners.
Let's if he listens to this, and so be it. But if he doesn't hear it, then we will pretend that we're asking.
If he hears it, then Mike, we have to go back. Skip Mike. We need to message him.
If he hears it, he hears it, right?
Okay.
If he doesn't listen to this week's show intro, then I reckon we just kind of pretend that we haven't asked a question yet and just get an honest answer from him. Not like, we predicted what you were going to say.
I agree with that. I agree with that. But, he is his own man. If that's one thing you want to say about Mike, like, he won't be influenced by us. That's for sure.
All right. Now, let's get into what we've been playing this week. So, Intergot, you can open up the batting.
Yes. So, I've got my normal cycle of Splatoon 3. The Splatfest is coming up next week. The thing I like what they're doing now is, so there's a couple of things. They don't have a battle pass, but they have kind of the equivalent to a battle pass, but it's free. And it's called the catalog. So just like Fortnite, all those things, you can roll it, like level, but again, it's free. And you do get items that you can't get otherwise. So I'm pretty close to finishing that catalog. It ends at the end of the month. Then there's also a pachinko machine in the game itself. And in this season, there's a couple of titles that are like, you can only get it this season, and it's like a 1 in 1,000 chance. So they've bloody hooked me with this pachinko machine crap, right? Like every day, I'm like, I gotta go do that pachinko machine because it only costs 5,000 coins. And man, I've like got all the weapons now. I've unlocked all the weapons.
Can you only do it once a day or something?
No.
Pachinko machine?
It's 5,000 for the first roll, and then 30,000 for the second roll. 30,000 is quite a bit. Okay. So 5,000 is like definitely like a no-brainer. But now that it's the Splatfest, like the prep for the Splatfest, you can pick your team. So it's Pokemon themed. So it's fire, grass, or water. What do you think I picked?
I reckon you went with water.
Yes, Squirtle gang for life. Yes, definitely. Squirtle. I want to see the squirt. So if you play it at the moment as well, you get these like extra coins to do the pachinko machine. So it's like, it makes me want to play it even more at the moment because I'm like, damn, I want to try to get these like really rare titles. It's such a good game, man. It's far out, man. Like, you asked me earlier, it's like, would there be game of the year for me?
Well, game of the year contender.
Like, it's kind of getting up there to like a Rocket League territory for me. Like, it's just such a good game. They actually have improved the connection issues. I do have a lot less connection issues, to be fair to them. It does feel like they're balancing out somehow the matchmaking, because sometimes you get these like teams of full Japanese players in casual, and they just like completely stomp you. It's like insane. They're all like coordinated and shit. That's not happening as much. And I fucking still haven't been able to beat the like in the PvE mode, the Horde mode, there's like a mega boss at the end of it. I still haven't been able to beat the fucking boss. It is actually legitimately hard though.
Is that because the teammates haven't been that great and you need to communicate?
Quite honestly, I don't think I'm pulling quite my weight, number one. Like, okay, because I had to actually watch some YouTube videos on how to beat this freaking thing and the strategies and stuff, right? But I think there's always like one teammate that's not quite got it fully down pat. And it's pretty much you can't beat it unless everyone's like really pulling their weight. Like most people when they beat it, it's like with 1 second to go or 2 seconds to go. So it's pretty aggressive. The other one is I'm so freaking happy I finished Picross S2. It was like 50 hours.
Nice. I actually, these like, combination of games, this Splatoon 3 and Picross, yeah. I'm actually going to go and almost like create all the episode run sheets up until the end of the year and just hard code those games against your name for every single week.
That's a good call. So I finished S2, thank God. So I've got S1, S2 finished. S8's out. So there's another 6 there from the S series. But then there's all these spin-off Picross versions. So I bought one of them for some reason, really cheap. Lord of Nazarick.
Oh, yes, a noted anime fan, Intergod, gets the anime Picross.
And dude, it's so annoying. I can't skip these damn cutscenes and stuff. I'm like, I just want to goddamn play Picross. So the other thing about Picross is that there's different modes to Picross now. It's quite clever what they've done with it. Like, I have to say, Picross is one of the rare puzzle games that they've done variants that are really strong. If I think about Tetris, the Tetris variants to me never really click. And they're always a bit like, just give me OG Tetris. Whereas the Picross ones, you know, like 3D Picross is freaking awesome. Like, it's so bad there's only 2 of those games. They're amazing. Like, give me a goddamn 3D Picross on the Switch.
And both 3D Picross games are very different from each other as well.
Yes.
Because the second one introduced the color matching, which is hard as hell.
That's what I was going to say. Like, with the S series, up to this point, they've had Mega Picross. So it's like multiple columns and rows to do the blocks. But with this Picross in Lord of Nazarick, it has color Picross, which I'd never really played in the 2D version. And I'm like doing it. I'm like, oh my God, I got to like rewind my brain to like play this. I love it, man. It's like my favorite puzzle game.
So I look forward to 2 weeks' time when you start talking about Hatsune Miku Picross, which I think they just put out on Steam. So.
Well, I'm also playing the Game Boy Picross, so on the Analog Pocket. I'm also playing Bayonetta 3, although I didn't realize that my run time to be able to play this is so short, because normally games come out in Australia on Friday, right? I didn't realize God of War Ragnarok is coming out Wednesday. So I was like, oh, shit. And I'm totally not going to be able to beat Bayonetta before getting onto Ragnarok.
But, I mean, do you have to play Ragnarok the day it comes out?
Of course. What am I, lame?
It's like the self-imposed challenge right there. You're like me.
Dude, I've been going like this. Oh, I'm starting to play Mario Rabbids. Drop it. Bayonetta. Start playing Bayonetta. Drop it. Then I got to pick up Ragnarok. I think I will just stick with Ragnarok. But I think what it means is I don't think I'll pick up stuff like Callisto Protocol, because it's like I've got so much stuff to go back and play. But Bayonetta 3, man, that's such a cool game. Like Astral Chain, I'm a big fan of. Nier Automata, I need to go back to. But it's just such a kooky, fucking over-the-top game. It's quite funny. Like, and that's not really my style, like that over-the-top anime, gargantuan kind of shit, but it's pretty funny the way they do it. And it's just, I don't know, I saw some people complaining that the story doesn't carry over and there's not enough focus on the story. I'm like, I don't think it's like meant to be taken too seriously, like my vibe from it. I'm like, when they got like bizarro characters, whales, and you're riding on cruise ships like a surfboard and so, I'm like, really, do they really care about the story in this series? I'm not so sure.
I mean, look, maybe big fans that have played through the first 2 religiously, maybe. But yeah, I know what you're saying.
But I think it's like Kingdom Hearts, where it's like, it's almost like just a reason to put bullshit in and have fun and like have ridiculous stuff. I think people who try to decode it all are I'm sure the people who put it together are just like, oh, we just smash some stuff together and make some bullshit up, like whatever. Speaking of which, I started reading and then actually finished CliffyB, what is it, Bleszinski's new book?
Bleszinski, yes.
Bleszinski's new book, Control Freak. So it's his autobiography. It's kind of interesting because he was even saying, because I pretty much read any video game book that comes out, right? And it made me laugh because I'm like, why are there not more of these books? And he was going, look, I'm doing this book. I know I'm not going to make any money doing this book. It's literally like just a sort of vanity, interesting project for him. Like that's what he said openly. Now, I knew nothing about the guy really. Well, not too much about the guy outside of like Gears and a little bit about Unreal. But man, I started reading this book and I'll make sure it's like PG-13 how I describe it. It's like this book, the start of this book is, you know, and it happens a lot in autobiographies. People talk about their upbringing and it's kind of like, boring, just get into the fun stuff, right? But he starts talking about his dad dying when he's in his teenage years and it's like pretty heavy. And I've got like boys and stuff and I've got a good relationship with them. And I'm like, oh, this is like super heavy, man. Like I was thinking, what if I died? Like when they're like, you know, 15 and stuff. I'm like, holy shit, I better get my health together or stuff like that, right? Then he starts talking about getting like molested and stuff. I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like it just gets really dark and heavy for the first, like, honestly, quarter of the book, right? Like effectively kind of his mum abandoned him at some point.
Well, what's the name of the book again?
Control Freak.
Okay.
Control. It just came out. It just came out.
Okay.
And, you know, it's quite interesting to see, like, you see this whole thread through the book, and I think he has said this in interviews that it's almost like a therapy session going through this. Like, when he went through the whole book, there's even times where he's kind of reflecting through the book and then, like, after a paragraph. Like, he does certain things, right? Like, he was talking about how John Romero started a company, like, went away from id, and then his company failed. Daikatana was a failure, you know, all this kind of stuff, which is kind of interesting because the whole pattern with John Romero, CliffyB almost replicated exactly. Like left, started his own company, started getting, because he was one of the Gamergate people who was like really, you know, aggressive about stuff to the gaming audience. And he was like, Xbox fans are annoying and all this stuff. And a lot of people turned on him. Very similar to John Romero. And then his Lawbreaker game just was a total flop. Very similar to John Romero again. And he was actually saying how he enjoyed that John Romero failed at the time. He was like, oh, that's great. This guy's failed. Like, because he felt he was a competitor. And then in the writing itself, he's like, man, when I look back at it, I think what a jerk I was. Like, what the hell was wrong with me? Why would I think like that? So it's just, I don't know. It's really like, it felt like you're reading his diary in a way. It was pretty personal, the way he structured the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm glad. So does he go much into the whole Lawbreaker stuff? Because I know back then that was like, that was his big kind of like big bet that fell through, obviously. And yeah, like the fact, and that Radical Heights. Does he talk about Radical Heights?
Yes.
That one is crazy. Like that whole Radical Heights thing was just like, I think it got shut down like within a week or something ridiculous like that. It was like within such short amount of time frame.
Quick, but yeah.
It was at the time, it was like, wow, that didn't last long. And that'd be interesting to read, actually.
He did. And like, you know, just going all the way back, he went into like how he got into games itself. I actually didn't know he was behind Jazz Jackrabbit. So I didn't actually know that. Like, that was his idea and everything like that. So it was kind of cool learning that, because I remember that game when I was a little kid, right? And the thing is, I think he's a bit older than us, but not too much older. And it's so crazy, like, listening to the stories and what influenced him and stuff. And I'm like, oh, man, that resonates with me. You know, he's talking about Metal Gear Solid, how influential that was to him, and just all these other games as they pop up and stuff. It's just like, oh, shit, man. I totally felt like I understood like where he was coming from. He obviously went through all the stuff with Tim Sweeney, Epic, and I kind of forgotten that he'd been at Epic like for almost 20 years, man. So because he was there really early days, he came straight from high school, talking about like Unreal, how, and it, like what I love about these books is just you hear the stories behind, and I mean it's only the people saying it, right? So it's only one version of the story, but you hear the sort of logic of why, for instance, with Unreal Tournament, like why did they go down that path? right? Rather than stick in the sort of single player, and how much they were affected by John Carmack, the the god coder from id. Like literally they were like breaking his code apart. Like when they released Quake, they're like looking at the code and intercepting, see what he's doing, like kind of high level figuring it out. Like Tim Sweeney was doing this. And he's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's doing this. Oh, that's really clever. Okay, we'll do this, but we'll do it better. And it's just like, it's so interesting how the industry, like, they copy each other. It's just, you see it more recently with the Souls games, right?
Yeah.
Like, it's like they almost, I almost wonder they're probably copying it almost to the frame and then going, oh, well, we need to tweak it a bit because otherwise it's going to be like plagiarism. So, yeah, they go through that. And then Gears, it was quite interesting. Like, obviously, he's definitely the face of Gears. He's I think he's pretty fair in the book. Like, he does call out how many other people were influential and essential. Like Rod Ferguson, a guy who used to be from Microsoft and now is at Epic, and how much it was like his push on certain things. I think they had a good dynamic where it was like, no, we don't need this, piss this off, like do this, we need that. He was not CliffyB, this Rod guy was the one who was like, no, it just needs to be like a linear campaign. Because originally it was going to be like a hub system where you go into different areas and stuff, which is kind of weird, like having played it. Like we played that game together in co-op, right? But yeah, it's like, I love that kind of stuff, especially like God of War has a special place for me because it kind of got me back into playing games. If you remember, like I think I saw it at one of our mates' house, like actually Joe Judge, right? And I think he was the one who had God of War, and I was like watching it. I'm like
Gears of War.
Gears of War, sorry. And I was like seeing Gears of War. I'm like, oh my god, this is crazy! Like this looks so cool, right?
Yeah, at the time it was the 360 had come out, and nothing I'd seen had said to me next generation until I saw Gears of War.
Yeah, and like I feel like for this generation, there's been nothing that's come out that you go, okay, like the closest thing is that Matrix demo that they did. That still looks insane. That looks way better than anything else on the console, in my opinion. But yeah, just going back to the book quickly, just to round it out a little bit before, if you have any questions. But there's like really funny things because you could almost argue, almost the most famous thing he is like noted for, you could argue, is that he was the one who announced Fortnite for Epic. I'm like, that's so weird to think the public learnt about Fortnite, which is like now, it would be the top 10 games of all time in terms of, popularity, notoriety, money, all this kind of stuff. That he was the first person to announce it to the public. It's so strange, like when you think about it. And he was like pushing it a lot internally, but totally different version to what it is now.
Yeah.
Right. And yeah, he does cover the whole Lawbreaker stuff, which is like, he's fair about it. I actually went back to watch a lot of the gameplay trailers and the setting and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, it seems perfectly fine, the game. It's just, he's launched the game straight after Overwatch that is so similar to Overwatch. And Overwatch is just so much more feature complete.
Well, you had a whole graveyard of games that were left in the wake of Overwatch's launch. Battleborn and all these games, and Paragon, which, is getting rebooted now. But like the games that some of them ventured more into the MOBA territory, some of them were more the hero shooter like the Overwatch, but just nothing at that time survived Overwatch. It was just like, had no chance.
No, exactly. So, and I look at it and I'm like, oh, it doesn't look too bad. It's just, like you're saying, I think if they did they were actually going to do free to play and then they didn't and they switched to like $30. It's like,
I liked they had like an anti-gravity kind of gameplay mechanic, which I thought was pretty cool. I just looked it up. So Radical Heights, which was like the last game, that was shut down a month after.
Yeah, interesting. The way he describes it, it doesn't sound like he's saying it's a month. Because I knew it was short, but I don't think he really... if he does mention it, it's very briefly. And he was sort of saying... It's quite crazy how open he is about it. He goes... Like, and how brutal he is about PUBG. So PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds. So his game came out, then PUBG came out. And he's like, this game looks shit. It looks fucking... Like, this is what he writes in the book. I'm like, this is brutal, man. He's like, this game looks horrible. It looks like a game that's from like 10 years ago. And he's like, it looks like trash. The engine's trash. It has all these bugs and stuff. And it's kind of like, I think it's super reductive. He actually is like, oh, you know, the only reason why people like this is because it's viral and it's like, it's just janky. And he's like, oh, let's go make a janky game like this if this is what people like. And that's where literally, that's where he's like Radical Heights came from.
You look at Lawbreakers and you look at Radical Heights. Yeah, I can see that. I can 100%.
Yeah, and I'm like, I think that's insane. I think like the whole thing with PlayerUnknown's Battleground, although there were a couple of games that had like elimination modes, it wasn't as strong as the concept of like, and the framing of like, there's 100 people on an island and it's down to like one person to win, right? Like, it wasn't like, because I'd played elimination mode things in like Quake 2, but it did, like I said, it didn't have the whole framing around it as strong. So I think it was super reductive about why PUBG was popular and why it wasn't. I'm like, it wasn't popular because it's janky. There's a lot of janky games. That's not why it's popular. And he doesn't really talk about Fortnite, like the Battle Royale version, which I thought was also interesting. It feels, I don't know, it feels like he's a little bit bitter about it. He also makes this minor comment. He makes this minor comment where he's like, he's got a photo of him and Tim Sweeney. And he's like, oh, who would have known that one of these guys is a multimillionaire and the other guy's a multi-billionaire? Right? And it's just, I don't know. He kind of mentions shit about Tim Sweeney all through the book in a like complimentary way ultimately, but then also there's this laced kind of like, you know, this guy's got so far ahead, it's kind of BS, you know?
Well, I was thinking you're saying about he doesn't say that much about Fortnite. Like, he probably has a lot of friends that worked on bringing that game to that Battle Royale format. So
yeah, for sure.
I imagine he's probably just keeping a bit on the down low on that, you know, regardless of his feelings, because, you know, he knows a lot of those people. So. Yeah,
maybe. He also mentions Kojima in the book. So he looked up to Kojima so much, and after Lawbreakers, he went on a holiday to Japan, and he, you know, reached out to Kojima and he's like, hey, you know, do you want to catch up? I'll take you out to dinner or something. And he was all like down about the game failing. And Kojima was like crazy. He was like, no, this is like fucked. You can't act like this. Like, and then he had a passage where he said, Kojima was just like, no, you're wrong. And he just stared at him. And he was like, he stared at me for more than an uncomfortable amount of time, staring at me until I was like, okay, right? And then he's like, no, you got to understand. You've left the studio. You started your own studio. You made a polished game and you published it. So few people do that. You're brave. Like, that's actually an amazing thing that you did. I'm like, I can understand why everyone loves Kojima in the industry. It's like, that gets to know him. He just seems like a really cool, chill guy. Now, he doesn't talk about anything like, you know, there's reports that Kojima was trying to get CliffyB to get involved in like either Metal Gear or something with him or his new studio. Doesn't speak about that at all.
By the way, we'll be talking a lot about Kojima in one of our new segments, so I just wanted to mention
nice little hook there, right? But yeah, I just wanted to sort of say the book says nothing outside of just the dinner and how nice Kojima was to him and stuff. But it's a good book. Like, I'd probably say 4 out of 5 for me. Like, I think ultimately CliffyB's an interesting guy, but he's sort of, you know, like outside of Gears of War, he like, I don't know. It's maybe a bit harsh because he did a lot with Unreal and that was quite influential. And a lot of the really classic things that I think of when I think of Unreal Tournament, even though I didn't play it that much, are like him, you know, like the announcer and all that kind of stuff. Like that was him, like fighting for that stuff to be in the game. So
if he was responsible for the flat cannon in the original Unreal Tournament, then he's got my vote.
I don't know about that.
I don't know, but if he is, then or whoever did that, they have my credit for life because I love that weapon.
Yeah. So that's that book. So I read it pretty quickly. It was decent. It was decent.
Cool. All right. Anything else you've been playing, or that's it?
No, that's a lot. That's a lot for me.
Well, talking about a lot, I have played a lot of bloody video games this week.
Video games.
Specifically, a very certain type of video game. So one of my gaming resolutions was the PlayStation Pile of Shame, where I wanted to complete 13 PlayStation console exclusive games. So, you know, games that are generally published by Sony. There's a few that aren't, that just never made it to other consoles and whatever. and I completed 8 games up until this week, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm gonna go hard in the paint, I'm gonna go hard in the PlayStation, and I'm gonna bloody complete more games this week. So
Can I pause you for a mini second?
yeah,
Can you explain what hard in the paint means?
I'm not going to do that.
You don't know what it means, do you?
No, I'm not going. No, I'm not going.
That's awesome.
I'm not going to derail my.
No,
my
you don't know what it
point of
means.
thinking.
I'm
I
going to
am
call this
not
episode
going
hard
to
in the
derail.
paint.
I am not going to derail my. All I know is the Usos talk about it a lot. Okay,
Go on. Sorry.
so I actually went and played probably 15 different games because I'm kind of putting the feelers out. What games do I actually want to play and complete? So I played some Dark Cloud, a game I'd wanted to play for 20 years and I never tried. Oh, by the way, at the top, I should have mentioned I signed up for 1 more month of PlayStation Plus because I'm like, okay, there's a bunch of games on there. So, and I'll tell you what,
sign up for a year. Seriously.
no. The thing is, I'm only signing up when I need it, and I've got my money's worth already this month. So. But Dark Cloud, Fists of North Star actually own that already. Lost Kingdom, that's by the Yakuza developers. That's really, really cool. Gravity Rush is really, really cool, the remastered version. Loco Roco, which I'd already been playing. Played some Neo, some Demon's Souls, some Killzone Shadowfall. By the way, Killzone Shadowfall came out in something like 2014 or something, and that game still looks amazing. Guerrilla Games, holy shit, they're technically so impressive with their games. But I actually completed 3 games on my list, and a mix of old and new, and some I wasn't expecting to complete, but I just got hooked on them. So the first was Detroit Become Human, so I played through that game.
Oh, okay,
and it's a game I'd always wanted to try. I hadn't tried a lot of Quantic Dreams games in the PS3 and PS4 era, and Detroit Become Human looked like the one that appealed to me the most, and I really enjoyed it. It's really, really cool. You could sit there and pick apart the tropes and some of the writing in that, but overall, I was really impressed. And graphically, that game, if you showed me that game for the first time and said that was a next-gen game, I'd be like, I believe it. It still looks fantastic. And the animations and the mocapping they do is really, really cool. And just how they weave everything together with the different choices and things, I really enjoyed it. And
did you have any problems separating the artist from the art?
No, not really, to be honest, because there's a lot more people than just David Cage that work on those games. So
for me, I just don't really know much about what happened. So
the thing is, the guy's still working in the industry. At some point, I know that people can do allegedly bad things or mistreat people and get away with it. But I think that if by now you think he would be out of the industry if a lot of that stuff really was the case. But anyway, Detroit Become Human, really, really enjoyed it. And the next game I jumped onto, I actually played through Ape Escape, the whole game.
That's awesome.
Even running the crappy emulated PS Plus PS1 version, I still play through the game because I'd only ever played that game for 5 minutes back when it came out. My first ever time, trying the DualShock with the dual analogs. And it was revolutionary, absolutely revolutionary. And that game, still, there's so many cool ideas in that game, but it is a little tough to go back to control-wise. And I don't know if it's because of the emulation, but there's times when it feels like you're just wallowing through the mire and your controls, it feels really laggy and stuff. But
that's the emulation, man.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other control issues I have with the game. But overall, I really enjoyed it. Really, really cool. It's just a really fun platform with some really cool ideas. There's a specific RC race car thing where you put down the race car and then you control the race car with the right analog and you control your character with the left and you control them independently at the same time. Kind of like Brothers, the Joseph Fares game. Is that his name?
Fares, yeah.
Yeah, Fares, yeah. And then I actually played Jak and Daxter, the very first Jak and Daxter. So I tried it out not knowing if I'd stick with it because I think all the Jak games are on PS Plus. And that's a PlayStation 2 game that I'd never, ever tried. And, it's a Naughty Dog game. It's the series they were doing before they jumped into Uncharted. And I honestly think the Jak, I can't talk on number 2 and 3, but that game really holds up. Like really, really cool. It's really weird though. So by default, the camera controls I think it's horizontal or whatever. It's inverted, right? And there's no option to change it, but there's like a weird secret option in the menu to change it that I found on like Game FAQs or something. And I'm like, wow, that is weird. And I think it was added in because that was the PS4 release, so they added like a secret way to do it, even though it's a PS2 game. But...
Oh yeah, because this is like the re-release on the PS4 that then is PS2 game.
Yep.
So fucking bullshit, man.
So playing a lot of PlayStation games, and so now I've got 2 games left on my resolution. So I don't know.
We don't even know what your resolution. It's just games, right?
Any PlayStation console exclusive. I said it.
Can I suggest that we play Last of Us? Because
I don't know because I'm more interested in playing some of the other games I'm playing, to be honest. So.
It's just that because the show's coming out as well, so I want to be free to watch the show.
I mean, you can play it.
Oh, thank you, benevolent dictator.
Well,
thank you, sir.
I'm not stopping you. But actually,
I'm so glad that we have a show together to be communal.
But to be honest, like there's other games that I'm just more like intrigued by, and for instance, like Neo. Neo is really cool. What I played so far.
Don't disagree, but yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. But Neo, and it's weird, like, the version on PS Plus of Neo isn't the remastered version, but it still runs at 60, so I'm like, okay, I'll just play it anyway, whatever. Doesn't worry me. But yeah, so a lot of PlayStation games. But that's not the only thing I played this week. I also played some Game Pass games, so I'll quickly get through some of these. Played some of Metal Hellsinger. That came out a few weeks ago, or like 2 months ago or something. So that's the game that's basically Doom 2016 if you made it a rhythm game, and you know, it's actually really, really cool. Like, they've got some really cool artists on there. So basically you shoot to the beat, and as you increase your multiplier, then it gets you more abilities, and you can start like just wrecking enemies and stuff. And it's got like Randy Blythe from Lamb of God on some of the vocal tracks. They love the Dark Tranquility singer because he's on heaps of them, Serge Tankian from System of a Down and stuff like that. So really, really cool. But honestly, after I played about an hour of it, I kind of felt like I'd had my fill. I don't know if I'd want to sit there playing that for more than that. But it seemed neat. Cool idea. So also tried out a new game that was added this week that I had no idea what it was, and I just jumped into it blind, called The Legend of Tianding. I'm not sure how you say that, but it's based on a Taiwanese folklore character. And it's actually really interesting. So I started off, and there's like heaps of cutscenes, and I'm like, oh man, I just want to see what the gameplay's like. And when I got to the gameplay, I was actually really surprised. It's basically if you took like it's like an action platformer, but it's got like some Mark of the Ninja style combat abilities and traversal abilities. Yeah, Legend of Tianding. It's really, really interesting. I don't know how much I'll play of it, but like, it surprised me, to say the least. So,
to our Chinese overlords, I fully support that Taiwan's not a country, and Swinny's out by himself if you want to abduct him.
Yeah, you speak for on behalf of yourself.
You speak on behalf of yourself, saying Taiwan's a country.
The last game, and the game that I'm not going to talk too much about, but I did play a lot of it because Mike's not here, and it is a Mike game, if there's ever a Mike game, is Ghost Songs. So that was the biggest Game Pass kind of edition of the week. The one that had quite a bit of buzz. It's basically, Ghost Song is a Metroidvania Souls-like. Like, literally the Kickstarter of Ghost Song said, oh, the game is inspired by the gameplay of Super Metroid and Dark Souls. That's literally what the Kickstarter said.
Yeah.
And so it is literally that. But it's also got its own cool, unique mechanics. So I will wait till Mike's back on the show because he was super pumped to try it. But I played that for, I don't know, about 3 hours. Got quite far into it. And I'll definitely go back to it. It's really, really cool. So yeah.
Nice.
Lots of games, lots of PlayStation games, lots of Game Pass games. And you know what? It's time to talk about some gaming news.
Yes.
So the PlayStation VR 2. So Sony have revealed some massive info about the upcoming PSVR 2, including the launch date, price, and games lineup. So it will launch on the 22nd of February next year, with pre-orders opening on the 15th of November, so in a little bit. It's priced at 550 USD and 880 Australian dollars, and the bundle that comes with Horizon Call of the Mountain is $960 Australian. The basic bundle will include the headset, obviously, the PSVR 2 Sense controllers and stereo headphones, and a separate controller charging station will be sold for 50 USD and 80 Australian, but you can obviously plug the controllers into the PlayStation to charge it that way as well. So Intergots, before we get into some of the game stuff they talked about as well, what's your thoughts on the price, the date, everything else in between?
Yeah, I was talking to the peeps, the folks in our Discord about it. I think it's not like shocking in the way of you go, okay, you look at all the technology that they've put into the system, all these kind of other things. But when you first hear, and just like the US prices, because it's more universal, you go, okay, the PS5 is pretty expensive already. And then you go, this accessory, it's an accessory. You have to have a PS5 for this to work. This accessory to the PS5 is the PS5's cost and more. It's, I honestly just do not understand the logic. I don't understand. Like, and I'm coming from both a business sense and also just a consumer sense. Like, I am a borderline casual, hardcore person. I don't think I'm a hardcore gamer, but I don't think I could say I'm a casual gamer. Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I will not be getting one of these. There's no freaking way. Like, and I'm not saying it's not value for money or anything like that, but it's just like, it's kind of farcical how expensive it is for me personally. And it would have been designed like that. They would have like had a price point in mind. This is how these things get built. It's like, this is the cost that we're trying to target. So let's build it to that, to what it makes sense. And I just don't understand the logic. I still feel like, the market really wanted it to be like $400 US, not 550. Right. And we were chatting before, right? Like last week, we were like, we think it's going to be like the PlayStation now is like around 800 Australian dollars. We're like, it's probably going to be like 700 Australian dollars. I think I said, or 650 or something like that. The fact that it's like, and by the way, just quickly on the exchange rate stuff, this is under market price in Australia. Like, I feel like they even realize that they'll take a bit of a loss on it in Australia, because otherwise, if you translate just the numbers into real money with GST, it's like more like 900 and something, 950. I think it should have been in Australia. Imagine if it was like 900, like you go into eBay Games 950 for an accessory. It's just farcical, man. It's I don't get it. I don't understand what these people are doing with the VR stuff. It's like, it's a super niche product. Now they're making it ultra niche prices. Like, and they're not going to get people on board. And then why would you build VR games if you're a dev? You need to have a lot of people on board.
Well, they're not expecting niche sales from this. I can't remember what they're anticipating, but it wasn't small.
I don't see it.
My question to you, would you have rather them stripped some of the fancier features from the headset to sell at the lower price?
100%.
And what would you potentially lose out of that? Is there anything?
Yeah, I think the first thing is like all the bloody over-the-top haptic stuff that they have. Like, I get that I don't know how much that costs, but I figure that costs a bit. Because they've got the DualSense stuff, it's like, Nintendo had HD Rumble or whatever. They got like, what do they call it? I've forgotten the name of the marketing term for it. But like a really over-the-top Rumble with it. Like, that's going to cost a fortune.
They call the controllers the Sense controller. So I guess Sense is the general term there.
Yeah, Sense Rumble or whatever it's called. And like, that's the first thing. I don't think you need as ultra high def of a screen. I was just hoping that they'll do something like a bit like the Oculus Go. And for me as well, like, what I don't understand is with the Oculus Go, the Oculus Quest 2, or the Meta Quest 2 as it's fucking called now. With the Meta Quest 2, it's got everything in it. No wires, right? So it's all like the processors in there, like all the shit's in there. And even then it's 650 Australian. And I've got one sitting right over there. It's fine. It's like, that's all I was expecting. And I'm like, with the PlayStation 5, the PSVR 2, you've got a cable. So you got the power of the PS5 to power it. So sure, like I remember when I was talking about it, I'm like, they surely can get a similar price point if they really wanted to the MetaQuest 2. So that would have been like 500 Australian dollars, which I would have been like, if it was 500, I'd get it. There's no way I'm getting it. There's no fucking way I'm getting it. It's never gonna go on and say enough to make it like worthwhile getting it.
So question number 2.
Are you going to get it, by the way? Because you didn't answer.
Oh, I'll get to that in a second. I want to kind of just close off this loop with questioning you. This PSVR interrogation segment. If it was relatively easy, or officially for some weird reason, you were able to use this as a headset for PC VR, would that change your mind about the price point?
No.
Even when you compare it to some of the higher end PC VR headsets?
I think it's comparable, but I haven't bought them either. And there's a reason, because I think they're too expensive. It's too niche. It's like where I get to is I can stomach, I paid like 50 Australian dollars to buy Resident Evil 4, right? VR. And that's like a lot. Like you can buy Resident Evil 4 for like $10 on sale, right? On Steam and shit like that, right? But I'm like, it's an experience. It's cool. And I do actually want to support cool stuff. But again, with PSVR 2, it's like 880 Australian. How many games am I going to play on it that are specifically for it? Because also, there's no back catalog. There's no fucking back catalog. So am I going to play like 10 games through the life of it? It's a lot of money per game. It's like hundreds of dollars per game. It's like Neo Geo prices. I'm like, no. It's a hard pass for me. It's like, it's too much. It's like, man, PlayStation 5 is expensive. Like, that's already expensive. Like, it's kind of farcical how expensive this goddamn thing is. So,
yeah, and look, I think you hit on probably the biggest issue for me is the backwards compatibility and the library, because you get a fancy peripheral, you're going to need stuff to use with it. It's like the Super Scope on the Super Nintendo. That thing was actually pretty cool, but it just didn't have any games that were really that great to use on, So even if you had one, you got bored of it because the games were pretty shitty.
Yeah.
Now, for me, if they turn around and they announce at some point, even, post-launch, that Half-Life Alyx is coming to PlayStation VR 2, right? To me, that is an example of some time where I'll go, maybe I start weighing up if that's worth it, because the idea, I don't have a current PC VR headset, and the only way you can literally play that game is in VR. So that would be, and I'm much more likely to use it. I'm a console gamer at heart, right? And I'm much more likely to use something that's plug and play in a console as I am PC. But that price point is super ridiculous. Like, there's times when I say to myself, like, should I have gotten a PS5 for the price that for the launch price that we got them, because it's a lot of fucking money.
I agree.
Right?
I totally agree.
And there's times I'm like, I've used it a lot this week, but like I'm saying, like a month ago when I'm not using it that much, I'm like, man, like, should I have waited until potentially there's a Slim or something like that?
And can I just say, this means I want to say something. I feel like I'm Kanye. Like, to add to that, you don't have a PlayStation 4. So you're thinking this is basically a PlayStation 4 and a PlayStation 5. Yeah. And you're still debating it. Now, PSVR 2, as you just said, it's going to launch with X amount of games. We'll talk about that in a second, but no back catalog. Like, the fuck are they doing? It's so strange. Can I ask really quickly, where did we get the confirmed price of the PSVR 2?
Press starts. Now, I rounded it up to nearest dollar.
I don't know if they've got it right, man.
Oh, well, then I'm happy to be corrected.
I
but
can't
that was on Press
find
Start.
any, because Press Start, to be fair, are pretty like bad with getting the details accurately. Like, there's many times where they've published stuff and they've like, oh, oops, we've made a mistake. I'm trying to get it verified through another source, but I can't find it anywhere.
Here we go. Okay, the Australian PlayStation VR price has been revealed. PlayStation Australia has revealed that the price will be $880.
Okay.
That's according to Press Start.
So. Okay, so they got it directly from PlayStation Australia.
Yeah.
Because the direct comparison is like $550 to $850 Australian dollars. Like, in terms of pure, FX conversion, and then we have 10% GST that's applied to all goods in Australia, bringing it up to like 935. So they've taken a bit of a bath on it, as they did with DualSense Edge.
It's literally $879.95. So $880.
Yeah, $880. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, and you were saying like you were debating about the PS5 if you should have waited for the slim version or something.
Well, yeah, it's just more like, so this is doubly so simply because, again, the library. Now, I was pretty high when I saw Call of the Mountain. When I saw it, I know you guys weren't as high as me. So there's definitely some stuff there, but that's what I'm saying. Something like Half-Life Alyx, a killer app.
Yeah,
it needs a killer app.
Like, I'll sell it to you. Like, I don't know if Valve would be up for this. It doesn't feel like Valve really cares about their games, to be frank. It's like, they just kind of do whatever. But, if I'm Sony, I go to Valve, look, Meta, ourselves, yourselves are the biggest proponents of VR. It's a bit of an ecosystem. We need to push this forward, right? What we'd love to do is have like Half-Life Alyx, and can we do a special mission or something a little bit extra? We'll get the people back anyway who've played Alyx on Steam, right? Because it's like a different format, and then also with the DualSense features of the controllers and stuff, right? A lot of people who are like into this shit will buy it again just because they're like, oh, I want to play it on like and re-experience it. I totally agree. I think that to me would have been like on the hit list, the number one thing to be. We've got to try to get this on launch. Like as part of like that and Horizon, you go as a launch lineup, that's pretty strong. Like I feel like it starts to overcome stuff. It to me is super obvious they don't have anything like that.
Yeah, and that is reflected in the games that I'll quickly mention. So they announced some new games that will be coming in 2023. Now, some of these will be at launch, some I'm not sure.
We don't know.
But yeah, they said that there will be more than 20 titles at launch, so this isn't all of the ones that will be available then, but not including Horizon Call of the Mountain. A lot of these games some of them are brand new announcements, some are ones that have been on other VR platforms before, some have been around for ages, some are like upgraded versions and things like that. So we've got the Dark Pictures Switchback VR, so that's a new entry in the horror anthology from Supermassive Games. We've got Jurassic World Aftermath Collection, which is weird. Like that game has been around for
forever.
Ages, so it's like part 1 and part 2. There's a Crossfire VR game, so if you remember Crossfire X,
that smash hit, now in VR.
Smilegate, but look, I mean those games. Look, shooting galleries are. You're always going to have shooting galleries in VR, so it is what it is. The Light Brigade, which is a roguelike Funktronic Labs. You got Cities VR, so that's the City Builder Cities series that's coming from Fast Travel Games. Interestingly, a game that I actually think looks cool, Cosmonius High. So that's from the Job Simulator developers.
Yes, that might be good.
Yeah, Alchemy Games. A Hello Neighbor VR game, Search and Rescue from Tiny Build. Game called Pistol Whip VR, which I think has been around before. An action rhythm game. Zenith: The Last City, which I think is an upgraded version of a PSVR 1 game. I think they said you get a free upgrade with that one. I was reading in the article for that. And I'll get to there's 2 more, but I'll come back to that point in a second. After the Fall, which is a co-op shooter from Vertigo Games, and Tentacular, which is like a Kraken simulator, which actually looks pretty cool from Fire Punched. Now, going back to that whole upgrade path, there isn't a lot of people saying that, look, there's likely going to be a lot of the studios, because, like the PSVR 1, the sales decline on those games. Obviously, it's at that tail end. So they're going to want to get more people to buy these games. So they're probably going to put in the extra work to port and do that for
make it available.
Yeah. So while we say that there's no backwards compatibility, there will be a lot of developers and publishers that will put in the work to do it, but it's obviously not a given. And it's not a given that you will get that upgrade for free, like the Zenith one. There's a good chance you might need to rebuy some because they'll add new content and things. But look, I'm glad that they announced some games, but there's nothing in that outside of maybe Dark Pictures, because that series is very popular. There's nothing in that list that makes me go, that's going to turn heads, which is a shame. Like, I think that if it feels like if there was any big hitters, they would have announced it alongside the price and the launch date,
And do you think with the PSVR 1 to PSVR 2, now, like Sony are pretty dicey on backwards compatibility, as we know, right? And look at like the PS1, PS2 games on the PS5. It's fucking embarrassing, to be frank. And the way they launched it, all this kind of stuff, such obvious shit, right? Do you think that they just put their hands up, or do you think it's actually like there's something with the contracts, or like, because it's not just like, because older games they've had to renegotiate bringing them so that you could still keep playing them. I know Microsoft's done a lot of effort to make it so that games that were released on the Xbox can still be played today, because the licensing was only for the Xbox distribution. It's not like an Xbox in 10 years, 15 years time, you can play these games, right? Do you think that there's any element of that where maybe it was hard linked to PSVR 1? So it's like, what's the point of backwards compatibility at that point? Or do we think it's more just Sony being shit and backwards compatibility?
Look, honestly, as we know Sony's take on older games and playing older games. It's Jim Ryan's not the biggest fan, and I think that it wasn't the priority for them, which is crazy to me because like the amount of people that with those bigger libraries are like, well, I want to upgrade to this new fancy one, but I've got this like maybe 20 games on VR. I can play them with a new headset. So it's a crazy strategy to me, but maybe there is a licensing reason, as you're saying, because it's a lot of people, including us, sometimes make assumptions how easy things are, and anyone that's worked in any kind of corporate business culture knows that there's always reasons why some shitty decisions are made, or there's sometimes reasons why shitty decisions are made, and often it's not what you think. So maybe that is a reason.
Because the thing that I don't understand is, and like I look at this and I go, okay, most popular VR game is Beat Saber by like a country mile. Yeah, it's like always the number one game. I think it's still number one game on PSVR.
It's a very safe bet you're going to be able to play eventually Beat Saber on PlayStation VR 2.
Well, is it? Because they got bought out by Facebook, by Meta.
Oh, good point, actually. Good point.
So that was like, I think the general practice is a bit like, oh, if it's already on platforms, we'll support it, we'll continue to support it, right? But fuck, man, like now that they've broken the backwards compatibility, like maybe they won't release it on there. And it's like I don't know. I'll go so far as to say PSVR 2 is going to go the way of the Vita. It's going to die out, man. It's going to be more of a failure than PSVR 1. And PSVR 1 wasn't a failure. I'll take that back in the framing. I think PSVR 1 was like a really good start to a new field. And then this to me is not the PS2 follow-up. It's almost like a PS3 follow-up, right? It's like, what are they doing? It's so weird to me. I don't get the business sense of it. I really don't get it. I don't get it.
I'm a little more optimistic simply because people pay a lot of money for PlayStation stuff, and I don't think it's going to be the install base they're expecting. But I'm a little bit more optimistic.
And this goes back to one thing. I keep on thinking that the next Nintendo is going to be a VR unit, or it's going to have like an ability to go into a VR mode really easily. And it's not going to sell for like 900 Australian dollars. So if that happens in the next like 2 to 3 years, that's going to be also funny. Like people are going to go, oh, you can buy this Nintendo for like $500, or you can get the PSVR 2 plus a PlayStation.
And like it will be called the Virtual Boy U. That's what it will be called.
Or maybe it could be like Switch VR or something like that. I don't know. I haven't really thought of that.
Oh, well.
Wait, you said you ultimately said you wouldn't buy it. You're gonna
not unless there's a killer app that intrigues me, and Half-Life Alyx would probably be that killer app, but I'd still struggle until they reduce the price a little bit. Like, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
I definitely think they need a killer app plus, at that price point, plus official compatibility with like PC, not like some hack version bullshit. At that point, if they're pushing into PC, it should be official. Right, and then have their own PC VR games on there as well. So
cool. Oh, well, next is a story I'm very excited to talk about, although it's one of the most like obvious stories ever, which is Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reporting that Eidos Montreal is indeed working on a brand new Deus Ex game. So the studio and the Deus Ex IP were acquired from Square Enix back in May by Embracer Group, and at that time, you know, as you'd expect, Embracer Group said, look, they're looking to release sequels, remakes, remasters, and everything in between. So that's not saying it is no surprise that they're working on a Deus Ex, but I'm really happy to have the announcement because we haven't had a Deus Ex game since 2016. The first Deus Ex game is one of my top 3 games of all time. At one point, it was my favorite game of all time.
Yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So Triad is claiming that the game is in very, very early development. So, you know, don't expect it for a long time, especially since they just got bought out as well. Maybe it was in pre-production and everything prior to the sale, but who knows? It will be the 5th mainline Deus Ex game. So we had the first one in 2000, Bion Storm, as well as the sequel in 2003, Invisible War, which I didn't like and was quite divisive. And the series essentially died until 2011, which we had the awesome Deus Ex Human Revolution by Eidos Montreal. And Mankind Divided, a game I think is really underappreciated 5 years later in 2016. So yeah, look, it's a long way away. Obviously, it could end up being being not that great, but I don't care. I'm really excited for this news because I love Deus Ex.
It's kind of interesting if you go. I see Deus Ex as a very cult classic series. But it's kind of defied odds. And you get a new game, and it's going to come out in the next, say, 3 years, right? So within 25 years, there's 5 games. Pretty good clip. Like, I could tell you a whole bunch of other series, Metroid, that have not had anywhere near that many games in that span, and they're, like, way higher up the echelon. It's just, I don't know, really odd to me that this game is, like, so culty, never really sells that well. Like, has bad timing, I would argue, sometimes. Like, I agree, like, I'd only played Human Revolution, what was it, last year or whatever, and I was like, wow, this is an awesome game, right? So, I'm excited. Like, I'll definitely get it, like, when it comes out. Like, as long as it's not shit, like a total disaster or something like that. But, yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. But we don't know anything beyond, like, obviously it's going to happen, right?
No, and look, the good thing is, like, it's still being handled by Eidos Montreal, so it's not the case of being handed to a new developer. You know, obviously a lot changes in 5 years and then plus whatever, you know, amount of time until the game comes out, so who knows what the talent's like at the studio. But yeah, it's, as I said, one of my favorite series. It's almost like the perfect mix. Like, I love stealth games, I love action RPGs, and it's just the whole Blade Runner kind of cyberpunky aesthetic. So they also, Schreier also reported that they're working on a new IP as well. So have no idea what that is. But interestingly, they also have a co-development partnership with Microsoft. So they're working on some of their stuff. So they're supporting Fable apparently as well. Which, look, they're a very, very strong studio. So I think if you're getting anyone to support a project, Eidos Montreal's very good for that. So
yeah, it's true. So I'm just looking at the chronology of Deus Ex. So 2027 was The Fall and Human Revolution. Then like 2029, Mankind Divided. 2052, Deus Ex. 2072, Invisible War. It'd be good if they went a little bit in the future. Maybe 50 years after 2027 and 20... like for the original games. So they could be 2077, the year that they base this game. Deus Ex 2077. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, that's that year doesn't have any weight, baggage to it whatsoever. No. I'd be happy if they wiped Invisible War off the face of the canon and put a new game in its place. Oh, yeah, I'm not a fan of that game.
Wow,
it had its moments, but considering, look, at that time, Deus Ex was my favorite game, and then I played that game and I didn't like it. It was a big disappointment for me.
Can I say, they need to do the Price is Right rule. So they need to release Deus Ex 2078. One better than 2077.
Now,
it's just obvious.
In a bit of related news that I had it in a big sizzle list, but might as well bring it up now, that Embracer Group has also shut down what was called Studio Onoma. So that was actually the old Square Enix Montreal studio that worked on, I think they worked on Hitman Go and other bunch of
Which is really good game. Like,
yeah,
I hate mobile games, but it's actually a good one.
So they've closed that down not that long after it rebranded. So that's
what I was gonna say, right? Like,
yeah.
I was actually double checking because they have a whole. I actually remember seeing the whole article. Yeah, okay. It was 2022. Like, when did they rebrand? How horrible is that? They rebranded. They've spent all this time, and then they're like, "See ya."
I know there's a lot going in Montreal and stuff about like I don't know the full details, but I read it a little while back about like languages and employment laws and stuff. So I wonder if there's something impacting that to do with like English and French and things like that. So, but yeah, new Deus Ex. Look, as I said, very straightforward, simple story. But any chance I can talk about Deus Ex, I will talk about Deus Ex.
You do. You abuse your privilege as the editor-in-chief.
I do.
And the host-in-chief. You're taking over the whole fucking show.
Well, it wasn't willingly. It was
by Mike default. Is so terrible. I mean, he wouldn't even be here.
I was actually going to say we need to give Mike another shot, even for a guest host spot, because it is good value when he hosts. It just, I think the last time just went so off the rails. But
I need a host button where I can move. I can press a button, and we can change the host. It just moves across to you or me.
All right, and probably to me the most interesting news of the week, we have a bunch of headlines coming from Hideo Kojima, or Hideo Kojima, I should say.
Hideo.
I know. Well, you know,
it's like he didn't learn Japanese.
No, in my mind, it's because in the Psychomantis fight, it shows up Hideo instead of video. Is like a weird thing. So in my head, it's like I've always got that stuff there. But...
Good excuse. Oh, like you dicked me on that other time where you wrote the wrong name in. And I said the wrong name. Yeah, thank you.
Yes.
And I was like, Ron Burgundy just read whatever I saw.
All right, Kojima. So he's made a lot of headlines this week. So I kind of bundled everything in together. And the big one is at the end. So I'll cover some of the basics of the first few ones. So a lot of these headlines come from, he's got his new podcast.
Which is very good. I've listened to a lot of it. It's really good.
Called Brain Structure. So, on that podcast, he talked about, also, a lot of this is, there's a translation thing here, so it's just I've quoted it based on what the news sites are talking about. But he claims that he's constantly fielding ridiculously high acquisition bids, and honestly, I can believe it simply because it's Kojima Productions, the reputation. Yeah, and Death Stranding was a hit as much as it wasn't everyone's cup of tea. It was a massive hit, and he quoted, he wants to make what he wants to make, and that's why he created the studio. As long as I'm alive, I don't think I'll ever accept those offers. So that's a big claim to make forever.
Can I just say, his agent is like, yes, Kojima-san, keep stoking the fire. He's like this super hot girl who's just like, I don't want to date anyone. So then Leonardo DiCaprio is like, oh, this is the girl for me until you turn 22, and then I have to get rid of you.
Well, I always thought it's called Kojima Productions, right?
Yeah.
So he can't really leave the studio because then it's still called Kojima Productions. That would just be weird unless it gets renamed. But then it's
But it's the IP he creates as well, though.
I know. But the gall... I love Kojima. The gall to name studio after himself is just amazing. I love it.
But that is very honest to himself. He's very, consistent. He's very consistent.
This one's a bit of just a thing I threw in because I've seen some people talking about it. But he
wait, can I just make a brief correction? With Leo, I was wrong. It's 25. He's never dated a girl over 25. Every time his girlfriend's turned 25, seriously, since 1999, he's dumped her.
All right, get that correction on the record. Yeah.
So
he also clarified, so there was some reports around a cancelled Stadia game. Specifically, some of the reports were saying a follow-up to Death Stranding, which led to a whole lot of people. It's like Chinese whispers around this, right? And basically, he clarified that there was no Death Stranding related Stadia project that was cancelled, but he didn't outright say that he wasn't working potentially with them on something.
I am going to say I'm right about this. Because when we spoke about this, I said it wouldn't be a sequel. It can't be because that's owned by PlayStation, like Sony, right? What I said is I think people have misinterpreted it, and it's going to be like something like Death Stranding, but the similar vein, a Stranding game, let's say, right? But not Death Stranding, but take advantage of the cloud stuff and be in that kind of space, right? But it wouldn't be like Death Stranding 2 or anything like that at all.
Yeah.
So
a lot of this came from a lot of people talking about this is that reports were reporting other websites, and the term follow-up got misconstrued into it's a Death Stranding sequel.
Yes, exactly.
Now, if anyone knows, the term follow-up is used often in a more ambiguous way, like, like the next Nolan film. Album. The next Nolan film was a follow-up to Tenet,
correct,
or whatever, So
it's not Tenet 2.
So you can see how that whole thing got there, unfortunately. But so he clarified that on show, which is good. Now,
can you stop? Just pause for a second, because hooded dudes in the chat, it's actually true. It's because he's just saying, the next game is going to be a Hideo Kojima game. It is actually kind of almost interesting that he hasn't made himself the protagonist in a game. Like, I could totally see him doing that.
Well, he's modeled himself into plenty of games before, but as a protagonist, no.
That was one thing I missed out on the CliffyB story, because when he was at dinner with him as well, Kojima said, "Oh, can you come to my studio and I'll scan you into the game? Like, I'll bring you." CliffyB was meant to be in Death Stranding, right? And he goes, no, I don't want to be in it. People are going to hate me in it, so don't do it. I don't think that would have been awesome if CliffyB was in Death Stranding.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, there's been a bit of news. I originally wasn't going to include this, but there's 2 pieces of news, so I just did anyway. So, Overdose. So, that's the game that has not been officially announced. It's called Overdose, but whatever. There's so much stuff going on. But Kojima Productions basically revealed this week that Deadpool 2 actress, Shuri Katsuna, has joined alongside, I think it was Margaret Qualley. These names, man, I'm getting thrown these names. But Margaret Qualley. So basically this game that is like, basically everyone knows it's called Overdose, but they haven't officially revealed its name yet. But unfortunately this week, there's a whole bunch of potentially leaked footage. Now, they claimed that did a Kojima Productions DMCA'd it and everything, and it's features Margaret Qualley walking around as basically a survival horror game, and it featured a total overdose in that footage. So that's something that's obviously seems like it's pretty close to announcement. Who knows? I briefly looked at the footage.
I didn't watch it because I don't want it spoiled.
No, it was more that I knew the footage was like a really weird, dodgy, like phone recording off another screen thing. So I just wanted to see that aspect to see how dodgy the actual recording was.
Do you think it's like he's leaked that, or?
Well, I mean, they're doing guerrilla marketing for, like, they had a QR code at PAX and stuff like that, which, so possibly, but
it's just weird to me. Like, I only saw a screenshot and then how it was described. In terms of like the recording and what was it? Recording of a mirror, a laptop, and all this stuff.
Yeah, it's weird,
and I'm like, to me, there's a lot of like when mirrors get involved and like other perspectives, like someone is watching someone record something and it's reflected back. That's such a trope from especially auteur directors, and I kind of put Kojima more in a director category. I just feel like it's got him all written all over it that he's done this or something like that, just to stoke up the activity before the Game Awards. It feels obvious he'll be at the Game Awards in person and they're going to announce this game. Surely.
Yeah.
I mean, his besties with Jeff.
So now, I hope you agree. I think we crossed that one off as something we can't put in our predictions list.
Yeah, we can't. That's lame.
It's too obvious.
We have to put points on these predictions, and I know you hate doing that. So that would be like 1 point out of 1,000. That's nothing.
Now, the last headline, and I left this for last because it is, to me, the most interesting, which is about Abandoned and Blue Box Studios. So this is the whole game, basically, where there was a conspiracy theory. It's like an indie horror title, and there's, I'm not going to go into the full background, but it's just a weird...
to our old episode that we had.
Yeah, we've covered enough.
We've covered it many times.
I think we voted as like our favourite small story of last year or something.
Was it last year?
I think it was last year.
Holy shit.
It was probably earlier in the year.
I think you're right, but that's crazy, man. It kind of feels like this year, but anyway, go on. Sorry.
Yeah, so, but Jesus. I don't believe, according to the sites I read, that Kojima's ever officially commented on this whole conspiracy theory that he was it's actually Kojima Productions game, right? And it's the whole Moby Dick Studios kind of like approach, what he did for Phantom Pain. So, quote, users just keep sending me pictures of this Hassan. So he's the Blue Box founder. They still send me collages and deep fake images, like 20 a day, and it's really quite a nuisance. When we did that Moby Dick thing, he's talking to Jeff Keighley on the podcast. You were in on the whole thing. That was pretty fun, but people should know that I wouldn't do the same thing twice, that is so true. Like, if you look at all the stuff he's done. I've never spoken for San. The game is yet to be released. I don't think there's much he can do or say at this point, but if he releases a game, people might understand. So maybe he should just hurry up and release it. So it's kind of, it's wild where this is all gone. And we have actually, like, Blue Box Studios tweeted out saying, we want to thank him for addressing the conspiracies openly. It's been a burden and not cool for both fans and developers. We hope everyone could close this for good. So I just want to say that it's been a burden. Now, it may have become a burden, but man, they played into that whole conspiracy theory for hype. They 100% did. So you're on mute, I think.
Sorry. What was the whole thing that you could do in Google Translate? I was just trying to do it then.
Oh, you Google translating his name.
Hassan Karaman, right?
Yeah, and it was something interesting.
It wasn't like Kojima or something like that. It was something insane. Like, Karaman is Hideo or something like that in Japanese. It's like, what?
I haven't finished the index of our show yet where it talks about like what segments we covered on which episode. I wish I had that now because I could just look up our notes from that episode.
Yeah.
But look, there's a lot of things that just felt like it fit into place, and I think where we landed, I can't remember, but I know that it was almost like it seemed too far-fetched at that point. But
yeah, I think like we ultimately sort of said we don't like there are distinct real things, right? But it's probably more of a coincidence, and like people just drawing analogies and stuff like that and drawing data and just kind of like convincing themselves. But
I think it's safe to say we can close this one off until obviously the saga of Abandoned will continue, because the game hasn't even had its demo released yet and all that bullshit of a installer for a trailer, and that gets all this crap. So that will continue on, and there'll be some fun stuff in the future to talk about that. And who knows, maybe it ends up being a good game if it ever comes out.
Well, I was totally off it once he had an interview with the guys from Sacred Symbol. Hassan Karaman had like a long form interview. So I watched the whole thing and I'm like, this guy's not fake. He's a real guy. He just feels like the thing just blew up in his face. It just becomes so big. And they were playing into the Kojima thing a little bit. And then, you know, that just sent people wild. So, and then, they've not been able to release their game. So it's kind of fucked. So,
so lots of Kojima news there.
Kojima.
I think that, we're going to probably see him in the headlines a lot more in the coming months around the Game Awards time. So now the last story of today is Square Enix. So after news surfaced a few weeks ago that Square Enix had trademarked the name Symbiogenesis, rumors were abound that the publisher was on the verge of announcing something cool, perhaps even a new Parasite Eve game. Turns out the reality is not so cool. Symbiogenesis is an interactive, non-fungible token project, aka NFTs, touted as a new franchise. So it will launch next year as a browser-based game for mobile and PC using the Ethereum blockchain. And the announcement follows months of Square Enix talking about incorporating NFTs into their business model. So Symbiogenesis. So I remember reading the articles back in like around the late October, basically saying, they've trademarked Symbiogenesis. The reason why Parasite Eve comes up, because, the whole like meaning of Symbiogenesis, of two organisms coming together and everything, it's like it fit everything to do with Parasite Eve. Square Enix have been on a roll releasing game after game and remaster after remaster in recent, over the last 2 years. They're just remastering and remaking so many different things. So it kind of made sense that they might bring back Parasite Eve, and I think there's only 3 games in that franchise, but then for it to be announced as an NFT project was the biggest. We talk about the term wet fart, and that is just the wettest fart ever. NFTs, man, NFTs.
Because there's also some news about NFTs with Apple. Like, they've got this thing now. If you have an NFT and it activates something in the iPhone, like in an app, you have to pay 30% commission on that.
Yeah, I had it like as an aside,
okay.
as a possible story for us to chat about last week, but obviously it's more
just
appropriate to talk.
Yeah, it's just related. And I thought, wow, it's almost like simultaneously them just trying to crush NFTs, because you almost pretty much go, it makes it unusable in the app then, right?
And look,
so they are genuinely useless things.
It's really unfortunate for me because you actually look at like the name Symbiogenesis, I think is actually cool, and the logo they created and everything, the little like trailer, I actually thought it looks like it could be a cool thing.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry. And then for it to just be an NFT thing, man, like, look, there's some other, like, I guess give some context about it. Not that, it deserves it, but basically they're saying, obviously you can collect digital art. It has an interactive...
Don't sell this fucking...
It has...
We got offers to actually legitimately sell the NFTs to make money, to advertise, and we don't do that. And now you're advertising this shit.
No, it's worth mentioning for one reason. So there's an interactive story, and this links back to them saying they wanted to do story-based NFTs. If you remember, we did a whole segment on it. So, but the funny thing is, they say the themes will apparently explore the monopolization and distribution of resources, which
so meta.
That is, like nobody can write that without being self-aware of that. So,
no.
Look, given Square Enix's track record of like launching lots of mobile stuff and shutting them down and all this stuff, like I don't see this lasting that long, to be honest, even if it gets off the ground. So
I feel like I've been there from a corporate perspective where it's so much inertia internally that you try to convince someone to go, look, this is a sunk cost, we should just give this up now, right? And you almost can't sell that message internally. So it's like, fuck, let's just launch it and it will die and then we'll wrap it up.
So they launched the game, right? Then they closed the game, and if you have an NFT related to that game, like, what the fuck is that NFT used for then? Like,
well, exactly what it's used for when you buy it, nothing.
But at least it apparently has a function within the game, you know what I mean?
You're starting to sound a bit NFT defender, my friend.
No. I'm saying when it shuts down, what the fuck is the situation? It's like people that own digital currency for mobile games and they shut them down. It's like, well, fucking, what do I do with this now, So,
no, I get it. It's all bullshit, though. It's like, NFTs are so dopey.
Symbio wank is what I'll call this.
Symbio wank. Okay, I feel like that was not your best work. You went a bit hard in the paint there.
You laughed.
More at the failed execution.
That is the intended purpose of that term.
Well, it means to end and ends to a means. We'll see.
Cool. All right. And on that note, that's the last 2 segments. So we're going to talk about some random shit with no context and no research because we want to talk about some leftover headlines. So Intergot.
Want to talk about gaming. I just quickly, one of these ones, Dwarf Fortress. You're officially getting a release on the 6th of December this year, 2022, on Steam. First was they started development back in 2002, October. So 20 years later, it's finally releasing on Steam. I don't know how much time you spent on checking this game out.
I know quite a bit about it.
Oh, you do? Okay, yeah.
I've never tried it.
I might buy it because I kind of just love the story. I know this is a stupid reason to buy a game. And it is fascinating how the game actually works and like the multi-generational things of the game and how like complex it is and everything like that. So I don't know. It's just like, I think it's really cool. It's weird. It's weird. And I feel like with this release, the buzz that they'll get, I feel like it will it's almost like they've spent 20 years, two brothers making this game. I feel like this is going to basically put them in a good spot where it's like, okay, well, that was our career. We made one game for 20 years and it was really weird.
I hope so. The unfortunate thing is there's games that have come out since that are doing the same kind of thing and popular, like RimWorld and that I hope that it's new enough to people, if you know what I mean. So,
well, the big one is, what is it called? Factorio. Have you checked out Factorio?
Yeah, I know Factorio.
That's crazy. I actually will not play that game because when I look at it and like looking at how it all works and stuff, I'm like, holy shit! I feel like I could like lose myself in this game. It looks so good and so insane. And I think Factorio is like a bit of a mental version of this Dwarf Fortress game. So,
One from me is we had an announcement of the remake of Riven, which was the Myst sequel. So I know Mike recently played through the remake of Myst. So the fact that they've announced that Riven's also getting the treatment is great. It'll probably, like, I've actually played Riven in the past. I played probably more of that than Myst, but look, there's a good chance that they'll come to multiple different platforms and things like that. So I'll check that out when that comes out. So,
Yeah,
Riven.
super quick one. Call of Duty, obviously released, massive hit. Very soft reviews, like very weak reviews. Like it's not going to be for me in my top 6 for Game of the Year, right? And it's fastest selling Call of Duty of all time. It's like holy shit, dude. Like even when they make an average one, they're still just destroying it. It's fucking crazy. It's like an institution for people. It's like Call of Duty season. It's like football season or something. It's like, oh, football season's coming up. Oh, Call of Duty season's coming up. Great, we've got to pick that up. Campaign, multiplayer, cool. Play that for a few months. Dump it.
Well, it's also like when we're talking the fastest selling, the terminology there is that when you look at the reports, it's based on the sales amount.
Yeah.
And we know that, obviously these games cost more these days, so it's like now we know the last couple of Call of Duty games didn't set the world on fire sales-wise compared to the predecessors.
Yeah.
But when you combine the fact that it is a new Modern Warfare game, it had a lot more buzz, and then it had the higher price point, then it makes sense to me that it's beaten the record.
And is it correct to say that they're taking a year off next year, right?
I don't know. I haven't heard that.
I believe they are. I'm just trying to check that out. I might come back to
I remember, I think Treyarch are working on one at the moment. So.
They're either skipping 2023 or 2024. They've already announced they're skipping one of those years.
Okay.
Like formally, they've like announced it, but
I seem to remember reading something that there is a 2023 game because when we were talking about the whole exclusivity part,
yeah,
I think the Treyarch game was the one that potentially was in the works. Also, I think it was Treyarch, unless it's Sledgehammer, but yeah.
Well, this is something where it goes 2024. Call of Duty 2024 will have a 2-year life cycle. So, I don't know. I was so certain that they actually said that there was one of the years they're either skipping. Maybe it's 2025, sorry. Anyway, whatever. Call of Duty.
Cool. Now, talk about Dwarf Fortress 20 years. Now, this isn't quite that long, but Little Inferno. So, a game that came out like 10 years ago is getting a new holiday expansion, which is just crazy. Like, game getting DLC after 10 years. And I know Mike's a big fan of Little Inferno as well. So it's just really, really neat. Like, games getting DLC that have been around. Like, that game launched on the Wii U, I think. So it was like, that's how long ago that game came out, so.
Yeah. Another one for me is Halo Infinite that it's getting ray tracing. Man, this game, fuck me. Like, it's such a disappointment because
Ray tracing on PC, to be clear.
Yeah, ray tracing on PC only. I feel like it's broken, man. I think it's fucked. I think it's... The more I think about Halo, it actually pisses me off so much. Because it's like...
It pisses you off.
It does, because it's like... Honestly, that's why I don't like Microsoft. They just fuck things up. Like, they buy things and just wreck them. Like, Rare, I used to love Rare shit. Like, Halo, man, they fucking, like, were handed a multi-billion-dollar core IP from Bungie, right? It's gifted to them. And it's so, like, let's be real. Halo is not super complex. Halo is not fucking that complex, dude. It's not like something that's, like, that complex to pull together. And they still find a way to fuck it up. Like, Master Chief Collection launched, like, fucking way worse than Halo Infinite launched. Like, way worse than Cyberpunk launched. It's amazing. Like, to say that I could legitimately argue that easily. It launched worse, right? And then, yeah, like, they just keep following up with fuck-ups and commitments that they don't stick to. It's just... And this ray tracing, like Mike in our chat was like, ray tracing, why are they doing that, not co-op? And I'm like, is like, whatever comment, because it's probably very easy to do, right? It's probably a setting that they can switch on. But still, it does... There's a certain, like, look to it for me. It's like, where the fuck are your priorities? It's so bizarre. Like, Splatoon 3 has more content than Halo Infinite. It's fucking embarrassing, man. Yeah.
You never cease to entertain me with how heated you get when talking about Halo Infinite.
Well, but I love Halo 3. And there's, like, something special about that shit. And they're just, like, they're wrecking it. They're absolutely bloody wrecking it. I wish they could take the franchise off them, right? But they own it, so.
A couple of games coming to Game Pass that I'm super excited about that they announced. So the first is Return to Monkey Island. So I talked about, I think 2 episodes ago, the fact that, that game was a Switch console launch exclusive. So I was waiting to see if they were going to announce other consoles, and they did. So it's coming on Tuesday to Game Pass for Xbox and also to PlayStation 5. Super excited to jump into that one. And also Vampire Survivors is coming to Xbox consoles on Thursday. So I will be interested to see whether or not they provide a way for you to transfer your data from the PC version. I kind of have an assumption you're not going to be able to, but I hope I'm wrong.
They're kind of shit at that, Microsoft, as well.
Yeah, but I mean, this is generally handled by the developers, this part. So it's kind of like, given the nature of the way that game was built and the fact that it's also moving to a new engine in the future.
Yeah, it's pretty jank, right?
Yeah, I'm assuming it's probably just going to be a fresh start, which, look, I've always wanted to try it. It would be a perfect just lay back on the couch, control of one stick kind of game. Like, it's such a.
What are you doing with the other hand? Hey,
I'm browsing my phone.
Hey!
I'm reading all the YouTube comments we get that are talking about my Assassin's Creed tier list. Yeah, cool.
Yeah, warning to people about that game. That's obviously a highly addictive game. That's like in the top 10 consistently in the Steam Deck games that are played. So super addictive to people. The other ones for me, that Nibelian, so Nabil. So it's like a super prolific Twitter user, like similar to like a Wario64, breaks a lot of news, does a lot of stuff. Like always, again, with same as Wario64, you think there's a whole team of people. It's like one person doing it. It's not a bot or anything. It's an actual person. And they're so quick. It's like, I don't know how it's fucking possible. They live on the phone or whatever. Anyway, just randomly... Not randomly, but like just out of nowhere, like bang, I'm like leaving Twitter. I'm wasting my life doing this. Like, this is me paraphrasing, obviously, very extremely. Like I realized, like, what am I doing? This is not like adding value. Like, I'm going to leave. And it comes off, obviously, Elon Musk buying the platform as well. So I don't know how much it's that versus like he's just kind of over it. So
also he attempted to get a Patreon up and running and it didn't work out as well. So
I didn't know that context.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, he did talk about the Elon Musk stuff. So I think it's a big combination of stuff there.
But whether that's actually a driver for people, I think sometimes people can, assign things like they're already in their mind. They're left, and then it's like it's a convenient thing to call out, but maybe there's other key reasons. I think I already mentioned Last of Us, and you very unsport and unfriend-like, not going to play Last of Us. But the
I didn't say I won't play it, but you're just like, I'm going to nominate one of your resolution games that you choose to pick like, Last of Us.
We have a show together. It'd be nice for the show. Why do we even do the show?
I'm having fun playing through PlayStation's history. I don't have to play their AAA.
Well, we don't need to have a show to talk about stuff, right? We can do that individually. You could just talk to a wall like you normally do. Anyway, so Last of Us.
I feel like I am sometimes.
Yeah, HBO. Well, yeah. I don't want to go down that path. HBO, their Last of Us series is coming out on January 15th, 2023, which is kind of interesting. Very early in the year. Like, I don't know. I don't know what that says about the show. I guess this is US, right? So it's like they don't have a huge holiday season over Christmas. Because that's, I don't know. It seems strange to me that it's coming out in January. Don't you think?
Yeah, I just got distracted by comments talking about Knack. I've already completed Knack as part of my list, so I actually would like to play Knack 2, but I can't find it for cheap. So the fact that I'd rather play Knack 2... You're
a dickhead. I know. You're
after playing the first Knack than playing Last of Us.
You two are both straight up dickheads sometimes. And then the last, but most important piece of news.
Proud.
I was like... this is like an insane thing that I do. I'll see if I can bring up the screen quickly. I sometimes check out this website, right? Just like randomly.
And you call me a dickhead.
I'm not a dickhead. This is just odd. Like, dickhead is different. It's like you have a fucking podcast and it's like, oh no, I don't want to play that game.
You have to play the same games.
Yeah, well, it's a show. That's what normally people do. That's like normal people. But anyway, so there's this website that has certificates of compliance for Amiibo. So you go through it all and it like has all amiibo and then their codes and all this other shit, right? So I actually randomly check this site every now and then as a psycho, right? And I noticed, I'm like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? There's like something that just calls amiibo on here. You click into it, right? Oh, I'm kind of like doxing these people, but like this is public information. So I don't know. Is that doxing? I don't think so.
It's publicly listed on there.
Yeah.
Fine.
I'm just not drawing my attention to this guy who works at Nintendo. That he's been there forever. I feel like emailing him. But yeah, they have no image. They don't have no description. They just have the part number. The other thing is, being a psycho, they've done 2 runs of production of this thing, right? Now, most amiibo, they only do 1 run. So I'm like, it must be an amiibo that they know is going to sell. Now, I think the easiest thing you could say is like, maybe it's Sephiroth. Because like you feel like that's going to come out. And maybe it was meant to be in a direct and they're waiting. But... Or it could be simply Fire Emblem Engage, right? But it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. And my hot theory is, I feel like it's probably a Mario amiibo that they've got in production. I really want this bloody Mario game to come out. Surely they're going to have another Mario game around when the Mario movie's coming out. And the Mario movie was meant to come out earlier, right? So if you think about it, like these things get manufactured, they take a long time to get manufactured. The movie shifted out. This would have released, around Christmassy time. So that's what I'm hoping it is. So I'm going to track this.
We should have done this as a segment. You
Why?
should have actually done a deeper dive and to start looking at the history of the manufacturing runs and the dates and like the codes and everything about these documents.
I have seen how they produce it.
So can I ask, did you just randomly go and check it, or do you have something that's like monitors page changes a box?
I was going to do that, but I thought that's too crazy. So I just randomly check it. I check every now and then. I check stuff.
Is the Amiibo community aware of your findings?
I saw they posted it after I discovered it, but I didn't post.
Okay.
But I didn't want to post because I'm breaking the news on the show, but someone did figure it out.
You could be the Nibellion or whatever, Nibellion of the Amiibo community and breaking the news based on this stuff.
I could. I need my inside Amiibo people.
I've called you an Amiibo influencer before, so
I want to find out like this place that makes them. I feel like if I get in contact with them, they're pretty dodgy in China, to be honest. Like I probably could go, can you make another run so I can sell them and I'll pay you a bunch of money. Then I'll find out all the new ones that are coming out.
We're getting to that counterfeit Amiibo universe again.
Yes, we are. We are. We definitely are. We are. We don't want to preach into that. So was there anything else for you?
No. Look, there's always lots of news, but I think we've talked about a lot. So I think it's time to wrap up.
Yeah.
Just another heads up that we will be talking about our predictions for the Game Awards Game of the Year nominees next week. So we'll chuck down what 6 games we think are likely to be nominated, and we'll see who ends up on top.
And can you remind me?
It's usually Intergot.
I'm a deep thinker with this stuff. I spend too much time thinking about because it's real money on the line with this kind of thing, right? But did you say when they normally publish the nominees?
It will be just after the show. I think like the 16th, 18th, around that kind of time.
Really, that far in advance?
In the past, they have, yes. Like around that kind of like mid-November. So that's why I scheduled in for next show, because I'm like, well, they'll likely announce it in the following week. So.
Yeah, you're right. Like it does seem to always be in that week of November. So
I was hoping they would have actually announced it, but they haven't. They've been really quiet on that stuff.
Yeah,
maybe that's the way they normally work, and I've only just had to think about it until now.
So the process is they reach out to publications. So it's like Press Start, Ozgamer, and Stevivor in Australia. I believe they're the 3. It has to be multi-platform, so Vux doesn't get a vote because it's only Nintendo stuff, right? Obviously. Maybe we'll get a vote one day, Swinny.
I didn't say that happening.
No, but what they do is they get the votes, but they weight it. So like IGN is worth like probably 5 press starts.
We're worth -10.
Yeah, we'll be worth 0.001.
Like, this
it can't be -10 because we'll have an influence, but it'll be like the opposite.
This fucking podcast has nominated Elix 2 for Game of the Year. What the fuck are they thinking?
That's diversity, bro. That's diversity. But yeah, I got so crazy about this thing, right? I was like, I feel like maybe I should build a model to be able to get the multi-factor weights of how much is he weighting all these other things and try to figure it out.
Well, that's why when I looked back at the past nominees and how the fact that they generally only have a maximum of one indie game each year as well, it's like you can go back and see some of the trends that they generally do.
Well, because all of these big, because the thing is, all of the big companies, so Nintendo, PlayStation, Xbox, all have a seat on the board, right, of the Game Awards. And then all of the sites that nominate, like, I believe that they can see who they've, like, nominated and stuff, right? So they also don't want to get offside. So I'd imagine there's some manipulation going on all through the system to get to a point where it's like, we accept one indie, and then there's got to be, like, if you can, an Xbox game, a Sony game, and a Nintendo game, if you can, if it adds up, right? And that's where I'm getting my head at. I'm like, I got to think through, and maybe they are going to put in the Nintendo game. Because there's some that have rated really well. They've rated really well. And then, yeah, there's probably one room. And it fucking better not be Stray. I'm going to be filthy if it's Stray ahead of Tunic. That's going to piss me off, man.
So I like how Stray's gone from, yeah, it's all right, not amazing, to, like, fucking Stray. I'll be so pissed off if Stray is nominated.
No, Stray is, like, it's a game I recommend people play. Like, I enjoyed it. But it's not the best top 6 game of the year.
I know. I've just seen it progressively get more.
But I haven't changed.
God damn it!
I haven't changed. I'm judging it in different facets. I'm judging it on it should not be in the top 6, and I'm starting to get nervous that it will be in the top 6. I'm starting to get really nervous it's getting in the top 6.
I want to see your thesis on why games journalists are cat people that you've always been talking about. I want to see your peer-reviewed research about that.
Dude, I listen to a lot of I used to listen to more, not so much anymore, but I've listened to a lot of gaming podcasts, and they're all cat people, man. They're cat people. They don't talk about dogs as much. The ones that I like are out of the industry that like dogs. So I've studied this shit, man. Don't question me.
I want to see the proof. Pony up the research.
But yeah, like I'm bumping out Xenoblade. I'm bumping that out.
Hey, we've got to talk about this next week. That's I'm
going to
have a whole segment on this.
You're not going to play Last of Us. I can do whatever I want, bro. Yeah.
I like.
What's the Xbox game that's going to go in? What's the Xbox game that could go in? Have they released a game this year?
I don't think there deserves to be one this year.
By the way, have they actually... I can't believe you didn't talk about Phil Spencer kind of saying... Did you have it as one of the topics? How he said... Oh, okay, sorry, I missed it. How he's like...
I'm unbiased.
Sorry, bro. Like, we haven't released any games this year. It's like... That's probably not good enough given that we got 55 studios. And it's like... What have they actually released this year? Like Microsoft?
Not much.
Like, I'm being dead serious. Like, what has Xbox, like, what has Microsoft released this year? Anything?
Well, it also depends. Are you like
since they owned and then they published something, not something they've just bought.
I was saying like it's also I'm not gonna like go look it up, but I'm basically saying there's also smaller games that are published by Xbox Game Studios that are what people would consider indie titles. But when we're talking about AAA releases, like that kind of level,
nothing.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head.
Because I was reading an article from the start of the year saying how Xbox is going to dominate 2022.
It was because it was meant to be
with Starfield, Avowed, Perfect Dark.
Well, Perfect Dark was never going to.
This article.
Perfect Dark was never going to come out this year. Never going to come out this year.
Man. And then they're like Stalker 2, Redfall. This is so insane. This article. This is actually really funny, man. You should see this. Yeah, but have they released anything? I don't feel like you answered me.
I said no. I said I can't think of anything.
Wow. It's fucking unbelievable. Starfield's really killed them. That got shifted out. That's really fucked them hard this year. Yeah,
they're relying on that one.
Yeah, I think Tunic will be the one that is... Okay, I shouldn't talk about my logic because you're just going to copy me now. But Tunic...
the start, I've been saying Tunics.
Nah, don't copy me. You can't have Tunic. I'll go first.
No.
I'll go first.
Hey.
Won't accept it.
Back when we were talking about this stuff, I think it was mid-year, I talked about if there's any indie game I think that made the cut through, it's Tunic. So I've always thought that.
Rewrite history, yeah?
I've always thought that.
I want you to be able to press play on your own audio clip. You bring that technology next week to the show, right? Okay, you've done it before.
I'll try to find it. But unlike other people that not on today's show, I don't abuse the technology when I have it.
Yeah, true.
Mr. Snapchat filter.
Yeah, thank God he stopped that. So I know we're going on about this. We're going to end the show, but Tunic to me now is a lock to go in. You know why? Because it's an Xbox exclusive, or it launched as an Xbox exclusive. So it fills the Xbox and the indie role. So it's like, if they're all like thinking about the marginal shit, like the Xbox crowd will push that forward a bit more and all this other guy. I feel like that's a lock now for me in my head.
Yeah,
okay, I've got a solid 4. I've got a solid starting 4. I've got to get the 6.
We'll talk about in our special segment predicting it next week. So thanks everyone for joining, and we're going to go say goodbye.